I'd like to call the meeting to order. City Council on Aging, Thursday, May 11th, 5:38. Welcome, everyone. We will start with, why don't we start with our normal one, we walk around and do our introductions. I'll go to my right this time. I'm J.D. Miller, the chair. Lori?
Marie Ficker, board member.
Pat Calvi, board member.
Leslie James, board member.
Jill Johnson, administrative assistant. Laura Brady, board member.
Susan Pope, board member. Joan Powell, lieutenant for South Trail Services.
Dee Dwyer, board member.
Linda Hayes Kelly, director of the senior center.
Susan Drevich Kelly, no relation, vice chair.
Welcome all. I think you've got a packet, there's a couple of probably packets in front of you, but you should have packets on the last one.
Yes, so I did three-hole punch your tonight's documents. Hoping you didn't mind and you would put them in the three-ring binder that I prepared for you with some other documents that I will explain, or can explain whenever JD wants me to.
And last month's meeting was recorded by Pat, who is recording today. Okay, thank you. So everybody take a quick look at April meeting minutes, please. Any changes, edits that we might need to make? That's all I need to know. Anyone have any changes, updates, edits? Great job, yes, thank you. Would I have a motion, is there a motion to approve April 13 minutes?
I motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Leslie, thank you. Do we want, how do we weave in Jill?
However we,
Okay, so why don't you start and then we'll weave Jill.
okay. Hi, everybody. Happy spring, May 11th. There was something kind of interesting about the fact that it was May 11th, 1/1, and I don't know if you received your email from Jess today
Yes.
with your invitation, which funny enough, there were 111 of those that went out, and we were just talking about it. So it seems like a nice little pattern. So in your email, in your inbox, hopefully will be an electronic invitation to the volunteer appreciation.
It was a beautiful invitation.
It was very good.
We'll tell her.
I hit yes immediately.
Oh, awesome.
I did too.
Well, that's what we're counting on, so that's nice. I think it will be a very nice affair. And we do try to change it up here and there, you know, this time it's a luncheon and Fred will be at the stove, so I'm sure it'll be great. So anyway, the binders, I just want to start there before I get into my report. So if you don't mind, you can look at the table of contents. And Pat will appreciate this just because of the whole governance piece for the accreditation. And why not, you know what I mean? Here, Jonah, let me read this to us. Okay. So, I've given you piecemeal, without having done this for the last couple of years, I guess, but the board member roster, which I think had been updated, the dates for the fiscal year,
If
what's
anybody's
remaining.
cell phones changed or anything, please let us know.
Right. And for the most part, I believe I have all of your information in my senior center that hopefully is up to date and accurate, but if, again, anything did change, if you moved, you should tell us.
Yeah.
Now, the board overview, role and responsibilities, those are missing right now. I will get them to you, but we actually have 3 different sheets which overlap slightly, so I feel like we just want to review that and maybe pare it down a little bit. But those had been helpful, and most of which had come right from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and then might have been massaged a little bit, but something that you may have wished you had when you joined was a little direction as to what your role might be, and, you know, just in writing, so you could refer to it every now and then. So, sorry. The new board member forms that you've probably taken care of, but just nice to remember what you might have signed at one time. So the Corey form, the social media and sexual harassment forms that we all do and all the volunteers for the town are asked to do. The conflict of interest law, the state ethics, I didn't put in there yet. I think you have had to do that, I'm pretty sure, and that should be in here.
Yeah.
That was just more volume than I could handle right now.
And a lot of that, some of this is online, but you've still got to get
Right.
signed off by
I
the
just
town
thought it was
clerk.
helpful just to have it for reference if we
yeah.
needed it. Your own appointment notices, which is nice for your dates and things, so you received that and you can add that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The membership form we use to sign up new people here, which is helpful, that's how you get a scan card. A new board member coming on would need that if they were brand new to the senior center, and then would have the scan card. And then I will get to, when we create them, instructions for your signing in downstairs and putting in your volunteer hours every time you do come in for a meeting or any other activity or event that's board related. So those 3 things are yet to come. The board committees, we included, you'll notice that there are standing committees and ad hoc committees. So we haven't really been using the committee format really, but the
We have
first
in the past.
few are standing and,
Yeah.
you know, used as needed. The ad hoc are just when that comes up and we want to take advantage of those, that's what we have created. So that's okay, that's in the
Ad hoc for
bylaws.
the Grand opening.
Pardon me?
We had an ad hoc for the grand opening.
I guess we did, yes, you're right. And then the bylaws are next, which were required and have existed, but for the accreditation, that document's required, but it's labeled policies and procedures. And because it was 2019, which is before a lot of things, I don't remember right now, and we need to do a little research as to whether the select board, when they approved them, had made that change to policies and procedures, or if, I'm just not sure why the wording is not
We weren't sure why
bylaws.
they did it, okay, I think they did.
And I'm sure I either have paperwork, or maybe you do, JP, and Janice Desmond at the time had been the lead on that committee. So I want to look at it, I mean, they're up to date, that was the last revision we'd made, that was approved by the board, select board.
I think it's a better title than
Do you?
bylaws.
Okay.
Because bylaws seems like so legalese, and this is actually more helpful and meaningful, I
The
think.
only thing I wondered about is because we also will have policies and procedures, so to speak, for the
For the-
senior center,
For the building.
and that's different
Yeah.
than what you're seeing here, even though it says for the council on aging, which you are the board. So I might want to find out if I can tweak that, even if we keep the guideline
Yeah.
terminology. So that's what that is, and then you can see that your meeting documents could be added month after month until you get to the point where JD is, because he's been here so long. You
Yes.
notice I didn't say too long, I said so long. Not so long.
So long.
You can never leave. Anyway, so, and then communications, if we have any now, of course, I also found what we used to send to new board members, and we really did do this, a letter welcoming you and telling you what the procedure was once you've been appointed by the select board. So I have that letter, I didn't put that in there, you would get that as a new board member.
So are we gonna start doing that
So
now?
we'll start doing that.
Who would be responsible for that? The chair?
Yes, or
Well, we have, well,
Right.
well,
technically
we
the
figured it out.
chair or his designee, I guess. So, helpful hopefully to keep all your stuff together and
Very helpful, I think it's great. I like it.
make you feel like you have a place here, which you do. Okay. Yes, I think we can get that, I just
Yeah,
said
that is
timing.
one of the
timing is
benefits of
everything.
doing this.
Yeah.
So one question I had was, you know, these standing committees,
Mhm.
which at one point existed,
Mm.
I mean, they have not existed since I've been on the board, which was I think it was the year before COVID.
Was it before
It was,
2019?
yeah, it was before 2019.
Well-
But maybe the year before 2019, because I remember talking with JD when I first came on, you know, asking, you know, how do I get involved, what can I do? And now, having been there, I know with
Mhm.
Laurie and with Dee, you know, when they were coming on, they asked me the same question,
Yes.
right? And Marie also, I think. So, I'm just, I mean, to some extent, I think and maybe it won't be exactly these
Yeah.
same committees, but I'm thinking that it might be helpful, once we get through the accreditation. I mean, the
Yeah.
accreditation has been like a great project
Yeah, yeah.
to get all of the
Right.
board members involved,
Yeah.
but maybe it would be good to reactivate the concept,
It is good, it is a good idea.
particularly the marketing piece, because until
It's ongoing all the
the
time.
team, until the town approves, you know, hiring somebody to.
I mean, if you read over the bylaws / policies, you know, some of what's in there is making suggestions about when the committees might be needed or what might be needed from the board at different times. And that does bring up one other thing, something that was more available. Emmett Schmarzo was the program manager director for the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, and he was the guru, he was our guru. Every director, we knew we could go to him, he was our resource, he was very accessible, and he would do trainings periodically that they haven't done since he then became ill, and then somebody did step into his role, but very quietly for a while. They kind of shared for a bit while he was being transitioned, and anyway, they have started the trainings again, which I didn't know till a little bit too late, so there are some trainings coming up that the executive office would sponsor, so they'll probably be sending their new program manager to Duxbury, which is already full. I think there was someplace else nearby that's already full.
Plymouth.
But Plymouth is not full, or wasn't full a day ago. So I did think that it's the end of June, like June 24th or 5th. So if anybody was interested in doing that, didn't mind going to Plymouth for it, then we could sign you up for that. And it's kind of a nice way to also feel connected to what the state sort of does and the way they guide us anyway in use of the board members. And if not, then something else, I can shoot it.
Yeah, like
Just
the
figured that
exact,
wouldn't be
because
big.
I definitely would be interested in
Date, time.
going, but I need to know what.
And then one time we did ask Emmett to come to us, so he actually did come to Scituate and do a board training for us. He went to Norwell one at the time, but, so, there could be others if you don't get to this one, but I will send out the email, please. Okay? So we had a nice series of donations made in memory of Yvonne Hughes, who passed away in March. And it's up to about $1,300. Very nice, 1,300 and some change. But every time I think maybe that's the last of it, another one comes in, so it's been, you know, ongoing really. And I have sent out thank yous to all of those who have sent them in addition to her daughters. Our social day program, I think I might have mentioned before, is full at 8 participants right now, and that's
I did not.
that's been nice for a few weeks anyway, for the Mondays. She does have a few people sort of on the wait list pending, you know, need, and Jen is able to start considering if September, and it sounds like it would be September for a second day. She knows a couple of the existing group want the second day, but we have always said we kind of go to our wait list first for new people to start the second day. But it seems like a better idea, let the summer kind of play out, and we have some ideas for doing a memory cafe, which I've talked about for, you know, 5 years anyway. But she would be happy to lead that, and the idea for a memory cafe is just to have an accessible activity or program that not only someone who might have some dementia or, you know, suffer from Alzheimer's could come with their caregiver and just do something that they otherwise might not be able to do together. So whether it's entertainment or an art program, which we have in mind, we thought we'd do 1 or 2 of those this summer. And that might give people who are even thinking about it an entry into seeing how they would feel about that. So I like that idea. Someone that we know has come to me with an opening minds through art program that they would lead for us, and although it's somewhat designed with people with Alzheimer's and dementia in mind, it really could be done with anyone, and we thought we might pilot it for a memory cafe, but also maybe just do maybe an evening, late in the day program for anybody who wanted to take part. And it's just a really autonomous expression, self-expression opportunity with led a little bit, facilitated by someone with art background, but not necessarily led or guided, you know, you really do your own thing. So it's a very nice program. So that's that. Support groups, we're really trying to figure out, you know, what we can support, funny enough. But we've had this caregiver support group for so long, and I think it's great, but it's not just for caregivers of a certain thing, like dementia. Which then we started with the Alzheimer's support group, but that got kind of interrupted when Lillian left, and now Mary Sheehan is leading it. But sometimes I think those are in conflict a little bit. One's late in the day, one's midday, but we do want to build up the numbers. We do pay for the caregiver support group facilitator out of the formula grant. So, you know, we do have a stake in that one, and it's long-standing, so I don't know. This Parkinson's support group has continued to have about 4 people, 5 people maybe come. Other than also the Rotary Club when they sponsored Brett Miller, which was great, and we had a good, 30 people in attendance that day. So we did think we'd get more interest out of that. So I do want to continue that. There's a low vision support group that we send people to in Hingham, but there's been some talk that maybe we could also have a monthly session here, and that would increase their meetings. So I would be in favor of that. And as part of our survey that we've recently done, there was a suggestion for a cancer support group, which I actually think is a great idea, because I don't know how much support they get while they're undergoing their medical treatments and seeing the various doctors. In my now most recent experience, or only experience seeing it, they don't get much TLC along the way. So what we would need is a facilitator, of course. She doesn't know that I might ask her, but I did recently meet someone who is now retired as a hospice nurse, and it could be something that I could.
Thank you for responding, that was my suggestion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and thank you.
Red
for-
and, very good, you're welcome.
Great suggestion.
Yes,
There's a need in
yes,
so many aspects of it.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
can just start small.
that was
You
very
know?
insightful, nice. So we have not heard about the grant that we submitted for the senior course, so we're doing that. And actually, there is a new documentary that's been circulating through social media. I read about it, but in a couple of different venues. And it's called A Drive to Sing. And funny enough, it was created during the pandemic or post-pandemic because people were gathering and creating these choruses in parking lots to sing, because it was so soothing and also a way to connect with people, and they could do it outside. And so it's being shown at a few different places. You just have to ask for it to come here. So I did ask, and we could have it in July or August if we wanted. So I think we should try to do that and market that as a nice accompaniment to starting the chorus here. So hopefully that works. Also, I got a surprise in my inbox on Saturday of a government earmark, legislative earmark of $25,000 that was being given to us, not just us, and other senior centers in the area. A few got more, but the standing amount was $25,000 to most. So
Nice surprise.
it is a nice surprise. I kept rereading it, like, that's so weird and nice. I know, it would be nice if it was. But there, as with everything, so I carefully printed out the contract and the, what we had to sign and everybody who got it. But then I didn't see, I have to report back to them with how we will spend it, as it turns out. I can't, they said you could spend 50% of it, and they would just give you that. But then the other half needs to be like requisitioned, you know, this is what I spent and I need the money back. I thought that was it, that's fine, I can do that, but now I actually have to submit to them how I will spend that money, so I don't know yet. And we, on the same note, you know, have the furnishings that I had told you we wanna buy and submitted to the PBC, which I didn't think we needed to, but the Public Building Commission that has been managing the project funds for the building, and we still had some money, so we would like it to come out of that fund and save this for something else, but it's been suggested that we use this for that, and I'm not sure. So it depends on what we are told about the money that we're asking for. But it is nice to have, and we'll certainly use it.
You have to tell them how you're using the whole 25,000 or 50%?
Well, at least the 50%, I'm not positive about that. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have, certainly,
Refurbishing the front door to make it more
yes.
welcoming, would that come from that money?
It could, I mean, it's a little piecemeal what we're doing,
What
but
about
yes.
the golf
I
cart?
think Friday could drop off,
No to the golf cart, I'm not sure why. But,
Friday I came to drop off,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
papers in, 4:35, I totally forgot to close at 4:30.
okay.
And I realized, you really wouldn't know where it is, and it would be a great idea to have the hours posted on the
Yeah.
door.
That's gonna
Yes.
happen.
He said he ordered them, so I hope they come, and now I realize I probably should do it on the back door as well. I don't know if I did that yet. But yes, it will be much more welcoming, and I think it needs to be. So sure, some of that could come out of that if I wasn't using it for the project. So the art exhibits have been great, I think, and thank you for those of you who, joined us for some things. The middle school students are still coming in, and they're going to be up here starting next week, and there is a reception for them on May 18th, which is next Thursday night, if anybody wants to come. The botanical artists are fabulous, so their names are Sarah Roach and Tara Connaughton, both teachers at Social Arts Center in Cohasset, but as well, Sarah had started the program at Wellesley College, and she still is involved and teaches there as well, so she's pretty high level. And Tara was one of her students and now teaches as well. Their reception is going to be on June 2nd, it's a Friday. In the summer, something pretty different that was found by one of our committee members, but Dixon Bergman is his name, and he does this 3D cubism with instruments, stringed instruments like guitars and violins and things, and then adds other found items and creates these sculptures almost that are hanging. And so that will be pretty cool, I guess, and he's agreed to do the men's/ladies invited breakfast in August to talk about his craft or his art. And then I just figured it was a nice time to announce that we will be doing the call for artists again from the local area, so any adult artist could submit a piece for display for September and October, and we hope to get many more than we did the last year or two. Of course, the first year was a little bit last minute, and then last year maybe we got marketing out late, so we only had about 20 pieces, but we could do more, and now that our upstairs will be ready for more art, we could do it up here too. So we have a lot more space, so we'll start with the July newsletter and do some other marketing around town and maybe within other areas that have more artists.
Well, a lot of times there's plein air artists,
Right.
in July and
Right.
August, and maybe they'd be able
Yeah.
to display in September, October.
So we'll try to do some more emails and try to get the word out to them, you're right. So an invitational art exhibit with local artists. Building use, we have the Garden Club annual public meeting, which was great, I think, with a great presentation. They're going to do it again next year, and they like having it here, we like having them. We had all 3 sister city committees here for a meeting, and it's been a nice place for them to convene, and I think that's nice. The French, the Irish, and the New Cape Verdean. The Visitors Center's been meeting here, the Rotary Club, school bus drivers, we allow them to do some training here during the day, and that works for us and for them, and the art receptions. And coming up I did agree to allow the First Parish Church across the street to have a picnic. Their reverend is retiring, who also helped with the food pantry. So certainly it's very much community oriented, so that will be kind of a Sunday public somewhat picnic for them to use the downstairs and the backyard. The stair pads,
Welcome.
everybody is in love with the stair pads, and we're happy that they're happy. It just took us a while to get there, sometimes it just does. But happy that worked out well. So as far as I'm concerned, the golf cart is pending for July 1, but I don't know what kind of pushback I might get. I did plan to use formula grant funds for that. We are updating our coffee machine area, so we've been
Hold on.
waiting, the
Rotary
electrician.
Club's gonna help with that, depending on the cost, we have to cover the whole thing,
Oh,
depending on the cost.
depending on 1,200.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a cakewalk.
Good idea.
Wow, done.
Yeah. We've been sitting on that for a year while we've been talking about it.
Okay, you're right. We had the electrician here on Friday, and he was coming back Monday, and I haven't seen him, so we're just trying to get an upgraded coffee machine. And then also the dimmers are still pending, but we were gonna get a third quote from this current electrician. Anyway, I was reporting that really the furnishings, I was told I could send the quote to the Public Building Commission to take the funds out of the project, but, so we'll see about that. If anyone feels like walking down to the harbor room, we framed some additional Joanne Papandrea prints, and they look great down there, and also there's a couple, one in the Peggotty room and one in the game room, that look very nice there as well. Garden, someone tilled, I guess is the word, a garden out back for some daylilies that are being donated from a home that was historical, or I think a historical home, an older home that was being sold, and they had cultivated for years, over years, for this crop of daylilies, all hybrid, and they're bringing them here tomorrow.
That's nice.
That is nice. Good.
I knew them personally.
Oh, really? Oh, so you know the story? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, she's now over at Harbor House.
Okay. And the Beautification Commission kind of facilitated this happening.
Yeah, he was very popular.
Huh?
And he had Louis' name after him,
What was his name?
Stephen Tooker.
Tooker, okay. Should have known that. I think she told me that Mary Tenaro had been the one to bring it up to me here. Tooker. Oh, good to know. Driveway sign and the other signs are still pending.
Those are still with Kevin, yes?
They're
no?
still with Kevin.
Okay.
We had, it's just because the library has a carved sign, the wayfinding sign is carved there, so I just thought it would be nice to have it look like that. So Kevin went back to David Hassan just to have a different mock-up done for that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we want them, and I don't know how long it's going to take them to do them, so the sooner, of course, the better. Part of accreditation is to have a picture of the senior center with the signs, with the logo, you know, they want identification. So hopefully that will be. I am also engraving some other things. There's a few benches outside that have yet to have the engraved plaque on them. So I'm getting to that, along with something in the cafe for Betty Johnson, which has been a long time coming. And then, very importantly, also something identifying Joanne Vignoni Papandrea, not only up here where her portrait is in the Harbor Art Room, but also downstairs. We're going to dedicate the gallery space to her name, or in her name. And I think it should be, there's just no reason not to. So I'm very much in favor, and then we'll have her name a little bit more prominent. So I think that's primarily what I had. You know, our reach coordinator, we're continuing to post and do not really have any interviews pending at this time. But we could, we have received some additional resumes. But Jen has agreed to help out a little bit because we can pay her because it's in the municipal budget. So ordinarily Jen's salary for the social day program is coming out of the fees that we charge for the people who take advantage of the program. But she can also be paid to help out one day a week or more, finding that out of the municipal budget that would be paying the outreach coordinator. So that's helpful,
Mm-hmm.
and that's nice. Kelly's transportation report, if everybody has that. She is doing fabulously. Very proactive, and she does tell you in her notes that she is placing an emphasis on, and we're happy about it, using Social Community Action Council as a third party less if we don't need to. So we have 3 drivers, not really, we have 4 drivers and a 5th on the way, we believe, but because of the sporadic nature of their schedules, they're only available 1 day or 2 days here and there. It's still a puzzle or a trick, but we were taking someone to the Stetson building, for instance, for a, an afternoon appointment, and someone else needed to get there an hour later, and I mean, it's great if that can work out and get 2 people done at one time. So that is the kind of thing that she's trying to do, which is working out, and also bringing back the different supermarket runs or shopping runs, not just the standard to Shaw's. And I think I did tell you all this at the last meeting, but we did a training for our drivers that was really necessary, and Kelly took part in that as well on the Monday holiday here. And we also invited, so we had some drivers from Lowell and Pembroke. But that was great. It was a long day, but nice to get it all done. And the numbers are pretty great for April. 330 rides. With a typical number of cancellations, but not total. Now, next month, when she tells us how many May rides there were, you'll have these in your binder. And we can compare. Anyway. And then also Jess's report. And of course, well, actually, I guess she does say that in some ways, a few of the numbers are down, some of the exercise numbers are down, but I think that is probably a function of the better weather. Or maybe we saw an increase previous month with people coming back from Florida. I don't think it's a concern. I think some have taken some time off, Sue took a week off, but it was nice that our Scituate Community Television videotaped a couple of her classes, and we played them all week for the 3 times they would have met. And people came, it was free. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, they were happy. That worked out. I think the numbers, everybody knows, unduplicated versus duplicated, unduplicated.
Last month might have been 700 some odd, so not much difference between
Not much
680 and 7 something.
No, 765 is pretty.
The big drop is in the fitness. That's where the biggest, well, also recreation, that's interesting.
Less pool table use,
And
less
less
social
social
visits.
visits.
And that's true, yeah, less social visits, I suppose, maybe. People away. My numbers from pickleball might perhaps not have been in there in time. Although those numbers have been up, but now we'll be down with people going outside to play.
Bocce.
Bocce's back, that's new, but that wasn't in April, nobody was there in April. So, I mean, honestly, and this was for a month, 683 participants, obviously, we're still looking at, we get a good number. Annually, I think it's close to 2,000, if we look at all participation unduplicated for the fiscal year. So that's a pretty good number. Lunch has been full though. And Art for Your Mind, as you know, is still bringing in a lot. I guess we had about 70 people come the other day, yesterday. Bob Jackman's classes are still full. Men's breakfast still turns out a good amount. We do have Kevin Kelly coming from the facilities department in June. I think people are going to enjoy that. I knew they would enjoy him anyway, and he's got lots to talk about because he literally does take care of every building in town. But I also think people will come because they would like to know how he does every building in town. So. And we had a lovely turnout for our Road to Reinvention class that Susan Kelly led for us for 4 weeks. That was very nice. Something we'll do more of, I'm sure, hopefully. And your grief support group ended as well, so.
Yeah. But we'll start it in September.
And then some volunteer statistics, and again, actually, that number of over 100 kind of surprised us. You know, we've been really talking about, well, we had maybe 75 to 80 to 90 volunteers, but we have more. So that's a good number. Did add some because of the work that, you know, we brought in some other community people to work on the accreditation review, so those have been some newer volunteers, not loads, but some.
So what is the total number of volunteers? We're actually,
Well, the 111 invitations.
Oh, okay. Good, she said that.
okay, got it.
She's giving you the hours right
Yeah.
now that result in how many people have volunteered. I mean, some aren't, maybe they're not right now doing it.
But also, I'm seeing here that she's on the hunt to replace Leslie Sennett. Ooh,
Well, Leslie's stepping back or out.
Yeah. But she was huge.
So she had some, you know, graphic background and was a help working on the newsletter, so she was on the computer working in Publisher for helping to set up each new newsletter. So yes, Jess would like one person to help with that. And a couple of new kitchen volunteers, which is nice. So, she does go through some of the new things that we had going on. We did have a good turnout for Matt York for the history of country music entertainment. We do have Steve Lanzalotta coming to play the piano Monday for lunch, which would be nice, and we gave priority to the ladies for Mother's Day, but there are a few men coming. And our barbecue luncheon, June 29th, which we are taking reservations for. So it is a larger luncheon, so it's open early, not just following the 2-week usual procedure for signing people up. So it is open now for people to sign up for. And last but not least, without having someone in outreach, we are still getting calls, so there has been some client follow-up that's fallen on me or any one of the staff. Jen helping out now is helpful. We had a mishap with an air conditioner that had been dropped while being disinstalled
Here?
over at Central Park.
Oh,
So, you know, that came up and we had to replace it, and thank you, Community Christmas ended up buying it for us instead of me to give back, instead of us to give back, to give to this woman whose had been broken. But we still had to get it there, and someone is installing it for her this weekend, I guess, at housing.
Well,
Because it was our volunteers that dropped it,
wow.
which were student volunteers, and so it was not ideal, however that happened, so it was certainly something that shouldn't have happened, so we bought it for it. But they do, I understand, have volunteers coming on Saturday to the Housing Authority, but I don't know who they are. And last year, we provided the volunteers through St. Mary's Men's Group, and then through the athletic director at the high school, apparently, so the students were doing that. Well, that's tough to have them go into homes. They are all different, and you just don't know how old things are, or it's a difficult thing to do, I think, for them. So I think they should have their maintenance people do it. Anyway, So we did that, fuel assistance application's supposed to be ending tomorrow, so we were helping someone this week try to get in on that. And then there is a new water sewer assistance for those fuel assistance clients, but it's in a portal. It has to be, there has to be information that we get from the water department, and then we pass it into the portal, and then it's Social Community Action Council takes that. It's a little bit involved, more involved than I knew when I said, sure, okay, we'll do that. And I could use some help doing that, but we will see. And pending is just something with this handyman proposal that someone has given us, and we want to get to that, because it's a very nice offer, but we need to be able to develop it as a program that we can protect them and ourselves from any liability, of course. And the other thing I think that should be an initiative is a lot of people are coming to us saying they are having trouble with the cable bill. And I think there are other options out there now, kind of like that, or at least there's things that you're paying differently. But we need someone to sort of take that on and try to figure out how we can inform people what they could do differently than just be tied to the cable. It is outrageous. I don't know how some of them are doing it, so those are a couple of things that we are looking at for. And that is it for me.
How about Jill?
Poor Jill has been sitting here patiently.
Well, I'm glad to be here tonight, thank you for having me. Everything seems to be status quo in my corner of the office.
Well, I mean, she wishes she was in a corner, she's
Yeah.
front and center, and she
You're
gets a
right
lot
out
of,
there.
Yeah.
lot of questions, constant, and she can answer. So, people know where they need to go when they go to Jill. We are taking in a lot of cash, and that has been something, of course, Jill handles all the money. But because so much is in cash, what I didn't realize, and Jill has been doing, is, you almost have to, the deposits can't be all at once, because there's so much. So they have to count it up in accounting, she's got to count it here, she's got to count it up in accounting, and anyway. We're hoping maybe this would help us get some electronic installation here, something easier. I mean, point of sale electronic, not just what's on the website, but actually let people use something here, which we cut down on the cash. So that's something that we
Somebody else, when, somebody else said the idea, which I think we had talked about before, was having, like punch cards for lunch.
Right, so to avoid getting.
Prepay a card and then just get it punched in
Yeah.
there.
Like they do for college,
Yeah.
almost, yeah, same kind of thing.
Well, we do on the van, they have like, they get a pass for like 10 rides, and the van driver will like punch it whenever.
That's a great idea, instead of
Yeah,
having to
it's
collect
so much
$5
Every time they walk in
every
the door.
time with all the people. So what, if you had to summarize it, I mean, what would you say in I know every day is different, but what are the, key, like 4 or 5 things that you focus on in your role?
Well, like Linda was saying, a lot of it now I feel is like accounting, like counting the money, like recording payments. People, I do have a lot of help from volunteers. Thank
Depends
you.
on we work every week.
But, I don't.
My
just-
senior center.
Oh, yeah, my senior center. I would say like answering telephone calls, just questions, like providing backup for like volunteers.
She just mentioned a bit of what she does. I mean, the My Senior Center stuff
Doing the
is,
calendar,
yeah, there's a lot that goes into. I mean, My Senior Center is only as good as what we enter.
Yeah.
So every month or 2 months with the newsletter, every event, activity has to be in there manually, put in there. And then people's attendance, I mean, it's nice, those of you who are checking in, it's done. But there are those who don't, and sometimes we just rely on the payment sheets for that, but Jill's gotta catch up with that.
So, I mean, do you have any suggestions or recommendations? Because that seems to be an ongoing problem, is getting people to punch in. I mean, we've talked about, like, maybe putting it in a different place, or, I don't know, I mean,
it's a mindset, I don't think it has anything to do with where the machine is. There are people who just, nope, I'm not gonna do it. Even after you speak to them, they're still not gonna do it.
And it's made that much harder because they're not gonna do two things, or they wanna do two things, so if they have to stop at the front desk and pay, well, then that's done. You know, you're not gonna also go and check in. And I frankly, I think it's the cards, I mean, people just can't carry those cards.
To
Convenient.
carry the card, I check in all the time without it, I never use my card.
Oh, you just use it.
I just put in my name and my phone number, it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah,
It takes me less time to do that than to try to dig out the
Yeah.
card in my,
What do you do at the library?
I haven't been to the library.
Oh, okay, so, because it's, I'm just so used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a swipe card in the library too, but I have not had, it's on my Scituate bucket list.
I live there. I use it all the time.
Yeah, I don't have any time, I mean, I was there when I was doing the 50+ program, but as far as using it, it's sort of time.
we do have, speaking of that, which I don't think any of us mentioned, but we do have three presentations scheduled from the library who are coming here to talk about what they do, or maybe four, and I mean, it could be continued, continuing like monthly, which is going to be nice. So that's a bit about the technology that you can use your cards for, and maybe could be done more easily than sometimes going to the library. I mean, I do that, that's why I never need my card, because I always do it electronically.
I think it's gonna be a nice introduction.
I do too.
And, because a lot of people have asked me about it already.
Good.
And I just said, come, you know, and, I wondered if she had any loose ones to bring with her, but it'll all work out, you know?
Loose,
Like a Kindle or something,
Okay.
extras.
okay.
And another thing with the genealogy, I was thinking maybe we could ever arrange to go over to the library, and one heritage you can do at home, but ancestry you get free if you use it at the library. Be nice to introduce people to that.
How do we know what the programs are? I don't know anything
Oh, it's been
about it.
advertised in the.
It's in the newsletter.
Oh, it's in the newsletter,
Yeah. I have the girl that replaced me.
okay.
I asked her about it, and she's gonna be nice,
Mhm.
you know, good about, showing, you gotta have the right man,
Sure.
showing people,
Right.
and, she's gonna be great.
Good. Well, I think it's a nice start to trying to do more things like that. It's good.
Jill, I was gonna come back to cash. Are you always in a dilemma as to how much cash you should keep on hand versus how much cash you should get out of here? Like, you gotta have a bank every day, right? Because people are coming in to get change for a $10 bill to go to a $5 lunch, right?
Oh, yeah, well, we have like a cash box that we keep for
Yeah.
lunch, and a cash box we keep for like programs, and
Okay.
I usually keep $50 like in that.
Okay.
But yes, that's true every day.
Yeah, every day you're juggling. Do you make deposits on a consistent basis, like once or twice a week to? Yeah, you probably gotta do it a couple times a week, right?
I have to start sending her with an armored car.
Yeah.
So, do you go to the bank, or?
No, I bring it
Go
up
to
to the
town.
treasurers, yeah, and then they.
They confirm that you're giving them the amount of money that you're giving them, and
Right.
you're done, right? Good.
So if you went to punch cards, would it be like for 10, would it be like $50? Would that bother people, you think? I think it's a great idea.
You know, I don't think it would, but that's a good question, how much can they expend at
At one time,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
from a budgetary standpoint.
Well, yeah, but once you get into the.
But we
you
have
do
been
it.
wanting to subsidize some lunches for people, because we have some money for that from social elder services, actually. And so that might make that easier, because it's a little awkward saying
Yeah.
some people
You just
don't
give them
have
that.
to pay.
Mm.
Just give them a card,
So that would help.
that'd be great.
What about even putting that like on a key ring, like the other thing? Cause you wouldn't want, that would be two
Like-
different things, one in your wallet and one on a key ring. If you had everything on a key ring, there
Yeah,
would be
I
no
see your
excuse not to
sense.
use it. I'll lose it.
Yeah, but then you have to
Yeah,
develop
can
the
you
software to
punch
take it off the card.
Yeah.
Every time you
Yeah.
scan the card and you don't have that software. Punches are easy,
Yeah.
physically.
I guess one step at a time, that would.
Yeah.
The cards that they use on the van, who makes the cards?
It's actually GATRA, that,
Who?
GATRA,
Oh. So they couldn't make ones for the lunches?
No, but we tried it, we had one designed, I think, at one time, but.
So Joe, where are the bottlenecks, if any? Just certain days, certain programs, lots of people? Or bottlenecks someplace else?
I don't know, that's it.
Sometimes the front desk. I
Yeah.
think,
Oh,
really
yeah, yes,
overwhelming.
yeah, sometimes it gets like a lot of people in the lobby,
Right.
somebody coming out of class, like a group
Yeah.
coming out of class, another group coming in, it gets kind of loud and.
Is that why you shut the glass door?
Well, we did that the other day just because we were trying to discourage people from just coming back without like going
They
past
just
the
walk right in,
reception.
Yeah,
You
no, I
know, and
know.
take up her time and it's like, it doesn't affect.
Well, no, I don't mind.
I know you
being
don't mind,
interrupted, but just, we like to have some order.
It was a good test for
Yeah.
how quiet it
Yeah,
is with that door
it does
closed.
really
Very
block it out.
Um,
So how did that work out? I mean,
Yeah.
so maybe that's a good best practice.
Yeah, close the door, it's glass. Good. Anybody else have any questions for Joe?
How many years have you been doing this?
Oh, I think it's like 18 now.
Wow.
I'm losing track.
Oh, I thought it was 20.
No.
It was
No, it's
19
not
last
last
time.
So it's supposed to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get that many years, you're blurry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 20 years might be a milestone though.
Yeah.
But any history, she could fill in on she could fill in all the history questions, like the way we might have done things at one time.
It's great.
Good. Well, we know you're busy. We thank you
Yes, thank you for all you do.
for everything you do, yeah, and for being here tonight, so
Thanks.
keep things running smoothly. Liaison updates. Joan, got anything from Social Under Services? I see
Well, we
something,
have
here,
a
right?
meeting on May 2nd, which is always the first Tuesday of the month.
No.
We have a big financial report we always have, but, do you want to leave them?
Let's see one.
But they do this every year, I think it's really great, you do this for every town.
Yeah.
With all kinds of
Really good
information
information.
about the seniors and all, so I think it's
Go town
always
of
useful.
Scituate. I was about to see her name.
So then they also had a newsletter, and just a couple of things I'll mention. Plus, they know they welcomed a new governor and new administration this year. They welcomed Executive Office of Health and Human Services Secretary Kate Walsh. And they welcomed Senator Brady and Representative Oakley. And then they welcome new Mass Home Health Executive Director, Exie Crimson, formerly of Greater Boston Legal Services. So there's been a lot of different new people in the state administration. And then there was a paper they handed out, which was from Mass Home Care, clarifying the setting process for home health and home care services, all in detail. And it's mainly like about the rates, the rate setting for home health and home care services. And then South Shore Elderly Services has,
What are the rates like, if they change?
Depends on what they're doing.
well, all the agents are different.
Yeah.
I think it's, there was someplace here, but it's. The increase
And
of
there's some
15.
of them are set by Medicare.
15 things, each one is different. I have, they had, South Shore Elderly Service increased salaries for homemakers and personal care, and I can show you that, I could take you with detail.
I don't wanna throw you off, I just had no idea about that.
Well, I think the minimum wage now is $15.
Oh, I don't wanna start with what's gonna do.
Well, this one, I can just show you, this is like,
Oh, okay.
the current, for homemakers, the current rate is, this is Dr. Elder Services, is $7.20 a unit,
So,
and the new rate is $7.70. Personal care was $7.20, and the new rate is $7.70. If they
That's
put
about
on
4
more
units to
hours,
an
the
hour.
rate goes up.
4 units to.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I find really, you know,
They've had it, you know.
This
because they
piece
have such a
here
hard time
is
getting
really,
workers.
really disturbing, is
Yeah,
that on the protective services, you know, physical abuse, emotional abuse, caretaker neglect, and self-neglect, I mean, it's just really pretty awful that there's so much of that going on, and it doesn't really get that much publicity, so this is sort of an interesting.
yeah, and they've had to do increases because they're so short of help.
yeah,
What?
They're so short of getting help that they have to increase.
Yeah, and I mean, supposedly caretakers are supposed to be mandated reporters, but they're the ones that are doing the abuse. It's really awful. I don't know what can be done about it,
And
but,
see, some of them, you know, they have different type of workers and
yeah. It's
What is the
really
gray
pretty.
block, is that the self, I can't make out the color.
I know, the color, so the 26% is self-neglect.
Oh, okay.
And, the yellow, which is the second biggest, is caretaker neglect.
Yeah.
It's awful. And then emotional abuse, which is the orange one.
It's like a vicious circle, you kinda get them, then people that you get abuse, I mean,
So I'm just curious too, on the front page when it says in Scituate, provided in-home services to a total of 152 residents. Is that what's reflected in protective services or in program enrollment, you know what I mean?
it's not protective services, that's
it's not
Yeah,
so.
it's just,
home health aid to 152 homes in Scituate.
So then the other question is, so these protective services are for the town of Scituate? These numbers, this whole thing is just for the town of Scituate?
Yeah, yeah, every
So
town
that's
is different,
pretty
so
scary.
this is just Scituate.
So on the bar chart on the back, just the
Home care.
the home care, I mean, those are the calls, those are most of the calls we get.
Yeah,
Whether they've already tried social welfare services or not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes they have, and they're also calling us.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you keep on calling. Call social other services, you put in a voice message and you call the next place, which is maybe here.
But this whole issue of, you know, like as Susan was saying, I mean, none of the places that, you can't get people to do the work, to provide in-home care, and then you see this, and so it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's, as board members, I guess it's out of our purview, but it's just really upsetting to me.
What's the Curtis Trust? The Curtis Trust?
I think, you know, I think you'll find some of the other towns have a lot more big problems than
Really?
Scituate.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure there are.
The kind of Meals on Wheels, Scituate is really small compared to, you
Yeah.
know, Quincy and.
Weymouth.
oh, yeah.
Braintree.
I'm sure, I mean, I'm just saying, but just, you know, one person being abused is too many people being abused.
Yes, yes.
Just
I mean,
sort of
sometimes
like one of my, you know, sensitive spots about abuse, and it's just, elder abuse is just
I mean, well,
it's disgusting.
it's
All abuse.
all kinds, I guess. I think the Curtis Trust, it is something you can apply to, like grant possibility, I've heard of that, I haven't
Apply
looked
for
into it.
Yeah.
But I think it might be, it's grant funding, the Curtis Trust is grant
Yeah,
well, we
funding.
could always Google it.
Oh, what is the little necessities and the special needs zero, so our town doesn't have that available to people, is that what that means, the $0?
Maybe no one
Or no one
applied
has to
for
Or
avail
an ask for
themselves.
it?
no one applied for it.
Yeah, look up the Curtis Trust, we could use it.
And or maybe we don't know about it.
Something to look into. Some of this. Anything else, John? Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to have a big meeting, the board of directors now, we're already having a joint training on May 16th, so I'm back to go to that. And then,
What's the dinner?
community dinner is ravioli, lasagna, and salad and garlic bread and some type of Italian dessert.
And date
It'll be
is
Italian themed.
Sunday, May 28th, is that what I see?
Right,
That's when we're there again.
one of the weekend, but they know it's always the 4th,
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock. We
I
had,
would say that I attended the most recent one for the first time ever,
Ah,
and we really enjoyed it, my husband and I and a friend, and the service was great, the food was great.
and
You were
her,
there,
yep, and her husband played the
played the
piano for
piano,
us.
right?
And entertainment.
Yeah,
nice.
We
So
had 38 people.
the Curtis Fund, it was established in the will of George E. Curtis. Since 1931, the Curtis Trust mission is to assist low-income elder and disabled persons in Plymouth County and contiguous towns to remain in their homes and experience an improved quality of life. Curtis Trust support for low-income elders and disabled persons in the largest areas has primarily been in the form of assistance to visiting nurse associations that make skilled and unskilled nursing visits to homes. So it's basically to help people, low-income people, remain in their homes, in-home services. But there's a whole, the scope of the grant, it's awarded in a lump sum, and they have the eligibility criteria and so forth, so what you have to do to get it. But it's a whole application information. Effie and Edward H. Curtis Trust Fund.
And every little bit helps.
And every little bit helps, but it's good to know that it even exists.
Yeah. Okay, so May 28th community dinner. I don't have any update from select board Karen Canfield unless you do, and I don't. I do have some, I'm just gonna make an announcement on a couple of things that Elaine from Foss mentioned. Just wanted to mention, and you probably saw them in April minutes, but the May West program on May 19th is sold out.
oh, wow.
And they're planning on having a family fun day and a car and truck, antique car and truck show on June 24th, from 12 to 3. And I believe that's what we are here.
Somewhere,
Right out,
Up there.
somewhere.
well,
Well,
hopefully,
I'm not sure where.
yeah, it's
They
outside.
may know.
It's not inside, that's for
It's gonna be
although
outside.
you never know, Linda, they
It's
could
supposed to be
open up those back doors and roll those
Well,
cars
I
right
think-
in.
Let it
They have a
out.
rain date of the 25th, if it rains, then I think they would cancel because it was sort of about the cars, but they are doing CP's Pizza also is a truck,
Mhm.
so.
And I think it's Wilder Brothers that's, it's
Yeah.
Wilder Brothers collection of cars.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what's in the newsletter.
You
And,
know, they couldn't fix over the years? No.
Can I ask Marie about,
Oh, we can't. They're great, I go to them all the time.
do you wanna, tell them about your upcoming article, or is it too soon to have you talk about that?
Oh, I'm doing a piece on, the South Shore Senior Softball League with the 55+ and the 65+ guys. For years, I've seen all of these elderly gentlemen out in Dunkin' Donuts parking lot.
Older.
Are inside, older, seniors.
Oh,
And they always laugh having such fun. So the other day, I just went over to them, I said, what are you guys about? I mean, are you just old friends that have gotten together all these years? And they said, no, we're on a softball team, and, you know, there's a 55 plus. So I'm going to the practice tomorrow.
Okay.
I went for the 65 plus. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get my husband.
Well,
on.
I mean, we sponsored them since I'm not sure what the year
And
was that they started, but.
When I
Oh,
say
wow.
that these guys were the most enthusiastic.
They're out there, what, every Sunday morning? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
there's people
Yeah,
to talk
they're
to.
always, they're always playing, it's great.
They all wanted to talk to me, they were all falling over each other, they were loving everything. They just seemed, one guy had a triple bypass, he was back playing again. Another one had 2 knees just replaced, he's out there, he's got a pinch runner right now, but not forever. And then, and they were 80, several of them were 84 years old that I talked to. It was like,
It was a great idea, they should be featured, I mean,
They're
it's
awesome.
long-standing, they've been doing
Yeah,
it
they've
a
been doing it
long
for a long
time.
time.
They spend a lot of time
I
doing
mean,
it
I
right.
had seen people, older guys, playing over there, but I never really knew what it was all about. And, you know, I saw these guys during COVID, right before COVID, they were always
Yeah.
inside, now they're outside. But, seems like they're growing in number too, Linda.
Good.
Now they have one woman,
Yes, now they
Get
have.
them out and let them play.
yeah,
So, we look forward to that.
yeah, that'll be good.
Why don't we touch on accreditation updates? I think maybe you've been
Well-
bombarded with some
Yeah,
materials?
oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we can't talk about me. I mean, I can talk about, I mean, we're meeting next Wednesday night to sort of report in. I finally have sort of my committee helping out with, you know, we had a small focus group, which was helpful. We've had some questions, you know, circulating and some input or feedback from some of our patrons. And that will help with both the mission statement and the strategic plan, and helping us to create some goals for the future with some action items that go with those. So, still working on that, and some of you probably are still waiting for me to sort of confirm that everything is in, which I can't necessarily say I can do yet, but we'll hope to be able to say that next week, but I have all your stuff.
What is the presentation gonna be like?
For next week?
What- Yeah.
Um,
Because I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I basically, you all are, because most of you are the leaders with the addition of, you
So
know.
what is it like? I mean, we have spreadsheets and everything.
I think it's maybe to look at what the criteria is
And make sure you have
for
it.
submission and how you are filling that, how you have found we fill that criteria. And whether there are still any holes in what we need to provide.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is right now, I mean, the way that the NCOA prepared this and gave direction, it was a little confusing. So when Linda went to go start looking at the application for the upload, she discovered that she has to submit the answers to all the questions in each one of our workbooks. And it doesn't say anywhere in the manual that you actually have to answer those questions. With my committee, we just decided, well, that was a good way for us to do this, was to go through the questions. So that's one piece that has to be completed. And then the second piece is whatever your standards said was required. But the other piece, which is also confusing, because it doesn't use the word required, but there's gonna be an on-site visit. And Linda's gonna have to put together an on-site note.
Was that written there?
It's in your manual.
That is, yeah, we talked
It's
about
in
it.
your
Once we
manual.
submit it, they're gonna come and look.
Yeah.
They're
They're
gonna
gonna come and look at this
Well-
gigantic 3-ring binder, which will be divided up by all. So if you look at the manual for your standard,
Okay.
there is one thing that says required for accreditation, and there's, like mine had 3 things. And we're going, oh, that's nothing. But there's another section above it which says for on-site notebook.
Yeah, I didn't look at that.
Well,
Well, you
it's
didn't
there,
have to, really.
so that's why, so take a look at it now, because you may try to get together with your group beforehand and get some of the stuff together, but that's the reason why we're doing this, so that each, committee chair, which is basically the board, will report out on what they have and see if they have anything that's missing, because Linda has to have this done by the end of June, and it's gonna take so long to upload all this information.
But I think what I'll do is actually put up the application when we're
On the
here
screen.
together on the screen and look at each of those,
Yeah,
so.
but you should take a look at your manual again, with the
I
page.
mean, we've been working
Yes.
diligently,
Yeah.
but our group, it really ended up, people couldn't do it. So it's just been Jess and I, so
Yeah.
it's labor
Yeah,
intensive.
it is a little.
We've met once or twice a week, few hours each time.
Yeah,
But it, you know, just with the two of us, and, I'm getting nervous now with this on site, but that's all right. No,
Oh,
I just.
yeah.
it's
It's
probably not a whole lot of stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
sure if Jess is who's helping you, she probably has all the stuff.
Yeah, it just wasn't mentioned. I just, you know, we got so bogged down with the other two.
Yeah, so if you just look at the manual, that last page of the manual, which we'll
Okay.
have, and then also your list of your action plan.
Mhm.
Like, what are your suggestions, because Linda has to submit all of those as well. So those are, I didn't bring it with
I'm not
me,
sure.
I unloaded this piece here, but those are really the four things: the workbook, the required documents, the on-site, your contribution to the on-site notebook,
Mhm.
and then your action plan. Those are
Okay.
the four components. And unfortunately, I don't know who wrote the instructions, but there would have been a way to
Yeah.
write them
Two
that would have made it like what I just said.
That's what you said. I really
Yeah, it
liked
would have
that.
been really helpful if we knew that from the beginning, but that's what's required.
I mean, does anybody have any off the top of their head questions, or missing items that you're looking at for any of your committees?
How are we supposed to give it to you? You want it
Well,
hard
elect-
copy, email?
Well, it can be electronic
Probably
because the
electronic would be
workbook
better,
pages, if you have them manually written, you know, if you filled them in that way,
Then
then
she can
I
just
can type
upload
them
it.
in.
Okay.
But the pages electronically, you can enter stuff into electronically
Okay.
and then save it and then send it.
Yeah, because if you hand it to her as a hard copy, then she's gonna have to type it all from scratch.
Documentation that needs to come in and be uploaded, there is a method or a naming conventions that I will have to look at again, so that's just how they have to be saved.
So like,
That's not your
with
worry.
my standard, just so you know, so I scanned like all the documents that we had created, or just sent them as attachments. Like each thing, I sent the workbook, and then all the different things we had to create, the marketing plan, all that stuff, I sent it to Linda all electronically, so all she has to do is upload it. That would be the best way to make it easier for her.
And I am going to take a peek tomorrow at Duxbury's, you know, on-site binder.
The on-site binder,
Just,
so you can
So
figure
then
out how
I mean,
many
not
binder
the
you have to
on-site
get.
binder, you'll be
I-
doing
Yeah, you gotta
all
get a binder that's about this big.
I mean, just because it'll make, I'm sure it's not difficult, we'll
Maybe,
get authorized.
Linda, maybe you should just
Reassuring
take
me.
their binder and put our name on it.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
We did look at Duxbury and Marshfield.
Yes.
Duxbury was better than Marshfield, but,
No,
I'm not
the
looking at
on-site
it.
binder though, the
Yeah.
on-site.
yeah, I'm talking about the content. I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
looking for us.
Yeah. So I think that's what that, you know, it's what we
Yeah,
can
so-
provide, and it could be much simpler than we're thinking, you know.
No, I mean, I think, I am sure that whatever it is that we put together, it's gonna be fine. and
Sort of the
great.
full package, you
Yeah.
know, of everything.
It's
It'll
gonna be very impressive.
It'll be
I've already decided,
But the program piece is, you know,
it's big.
it's in depth, yeah.
Well, Susan,
And how
we
soon
had
before
to
you
write
get a
a marketing plan. from
Well,
scratch.
once we get the application in, then presumably it's sort of in order of receipt and that they schedule the on-site
On-site.
visits, which partly is perhaps virtual, in fact, so. I think somebody will end up coming, but maybe initially they'll be on. you
But
know,
if someone
virtual.
does end up
I think
coming, it would be
it's
really
August.
impressive if all of the board members could
Yes.
come as the standard committees and just
Sure.
say, we're here if you
They
want.
do like to do interviews, they say, you know, some of that, so is it gonna be in 2 weeks or a month from that, I don't know, and then I don't know, so.
It's
Somewhere
gonna
in
take
the
them a
summer.
while to go through all this stuff.
Yeah.
All
It
various
might.
towns too, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for all your efforts on the accreditation. If you have any questions.
Well, and on Monday.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we're next Wednesday, the 17th, we're back here at
Oh,
5:30.
If anybody's interested, oh, I'm sure you probably know, Memorial Day observance, so, you know, there is always on Monday, that Monday morning from Town Hall, they do a little march for the veterans. If it's raining, they'll be here, but otherwise, they go on to the Blossom Common
Yep.
ceremony. So that's on the 29th at 8 AM from the Harbor Master's office or 10 AM from Town Hall. Right, no, no, no.
8 AM, they go out on the water and
Right.
and then 10 AM, they walk from Town Hall to.
They walk on the water.
Oh, that would be good.
So it's May
So
So they lay
seventeenth,
the
five
reason
thirty
and they
here?
walk on the water, right?
May 17th, 5:30.
Sorry, what were you saying now?
May 17th, 5:30. Are we gonna meet in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless we decide on the other room.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
we'll figure it out.
I mean, again, you have to engage in here.
Does anybody else have any other business issues?
Just wanted, yesterday's program was very well done.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
And those resources,
yes.
which really,
That was
really
great.
good.
Was
Absolutely.
that the suicide?
Yes.
the suicide.
It was a very, it was a
Yeah,
very
very
well
good.
done
At
talk.
the library.
Yes, they did have it at the library. She was trying to sort of focus on segments of the
Yeah.
population so that they could sort of information-wise target that, but it was general, it was good. Some surprising statistics, but well done. And, you know, we should keep it up
Yeah.
and have them back, you know, whether it's the health fair or just, you know, kind of,
To make those resources available.
yeah.
Why, yeah.
Well, the William James, we do use that a lot, just because when people do call and ask if we have any counseling available, that's the only thing that we know we can tell them. So, that's good.
Did the police come to, anybody from Scituate Police
No.
Department? We had them, they really.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Mm.
they probably should. Any other issues? Like to adjourn the meeting? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second the motion.
Thank you very much, all. Our next meeting will be, as it says, accreditation on the 17th. Our next meeting is what, June 8th, I believe?
June 8th, I believe.
Yep. Jill, thanks again for hanging out
Thank
with
you,
us.
Jill. Thank you for all you do.